So
economy.
Let me put it this way. I will start with my president. Okay, we are frenemies with my president, but I support him as he is the commander-in-chief, and we have to rally around the flag. Ukraine's democracy is not flawless, far from that. The same goes with the British democracy. And we are under the martial law. And I've got the latest polls. Just before my trip, I asked Razumkov Center to conduct these polls. Could you imagine that the majority of Ukrainians still believe that Ukraine is a vibrant democracy? Yes, the numbers went slightly down. But we managed to maintain around 65% of those who strongly believe that the Ukraine is a democracy. And more than 80% believe that Ukraine will be the vibrant democracy after the war. So what is needed? We need a very strong political unity in Ukraine. And we have to maintain this political unity. And I wish my president and the government to do their best in order to get everyone on board in this fight against Russia. So we are not allowed to have any kind of fissures or being at loggerheads inside Ukraine. This is the very thing that Russians were always playing with. And I do remember this in 2014, 15, and 16. And this was one of the reasons why, for the first time in Ukraine's history, I was the first prime minister who resigned voluntarily. One can say that I am an idiot, okay, maybe. but for the sake of the country. So it is important to maintain this kind of political stability. The second one, it's about the morale of Ukrainian people. Once again, under the latest polls, 74% of Ukrainians still believe in an unconditional military victory over Russia. You know, unconditional military victory over Russia. So this gives me some kind of very positive sentiment about an overall morale, both among Ukrainians and in the Ukrainian military. But I want to be open with you and fair. We are tired, sir, and we are exhausted. We are not broken, but that's not an easy thing. Being at the state of war for 11 years and being under never-ending barrages of missiles for 3.5 years. And it affects even psyche, you know. The third issue, what is needed? We need we need to underpin Ukraine's economy. We can't do it without you. Just no way. Ukraine is to spend around 60% of its budget for the military expenditures for the next year. And this year we expect around 50%. 50% of everything we are spending in Ukraine goes from the either grants or loans from our Western partners. So political and social stability are needed. And good governance, okay, which is very important. Strong and good governance. Professionals running the country. We need to have guts and to stay resilient and to be on a very high, I would say, on the strong side of the real morale. Because if we are getting into any kind of gloomy sentiments, this is another way how to defeat Ukraine. And that's Putin knows very well as a KGB operative. Zelensky and Trump. You are well aware about this dressing down in the White House. Okay? I don't want to go back to what has happened. I wish it would never happen. And frankly, I don't want to comment who is to blame. Okay? But the thing is that my president did everything to get along with President Trump. And your prime minister, your advisor to your prime minister, president of France, they participated in this kind of peacekeeping operation.
Mm-hmm. Mediation.
It sounds better, mediation. Okay?
There was an open war.
And the reason why I'm telling you this, because look, it was obvious there were different ideas in the Oval over how to prosecute, over how to work with Ukraine, whether to turn its back on Ukraine and to wash its hands, or to be engaged. And the first case scenario was more, I would say, viable rather than the second one. As of now, we have at least verbal U-turn of the United States president. But these verbal U-turn have to be underpinned by actions. That's what I expect to see. And incursion in the EU.
Yeah, maybe we'll give Kier the
No,
chance to...
I have to. No,
Okay.
with all due respect. So you asked about the incursion. There were a number of aims that Putin followed. The first one is to test Article 4, Article 5, to test military protocols of the European Union. But the main idea he had is to send a signal to every single nation of the European Union. I am ready to send fighter jets, drones, and I am ready to fight against you unless you abandon Ukraine. My message to you, if you abandon Ukraine, he's going to send everything, fighter jets, tanks, and his military, to your sovereign soil.
Kier?
Just briefly, please forgive me, but the way you phrased the question is a perfect example of the result of the kind of mental capture that I refer to. It's not just you. Our policymakers also have been asking, if we confront Russia, does that not risk World War III? Mm-hmm. It's the wrong way round. It is through not confronting Russia,
yes,
not setting boundaries, that we have arrived in the position of intense vulnerability where we are now, where it turns out that despite decades, 1 decade, of warnings that airports are vulnerable to hostile UAV operations, European airports don't have countermeasures. Despite years of rearmament in Poland, trying to learn the lessons from the war that is happening next door, there's still not an integrated air and missile defense system ready to cope with drones. Despite the cyber attacks, the arson, the sabotage across Europe that has been going on not since the start of the war, but for much longer, for decades, there's no response from European capitals that actually appears to make a difference, except in very single isolated circumstances. All of that has its roots in this idea that Russia somehow is a force of nature, something that you have to live with, as opposed to run by people whose decision-making can be influenced.
Yeah. And actually, that I want to bring in Moldova, where I think there's a reason to celebrate something that Moldova resolutely countered Russia interference and exposed that it's not that Russia is so strong and powerful, it's because previously they had the free passage through electoral systems, through political corruption, through energy, and if you counter that, you actually can defend your country. So that is the good news of this week in Moldova. But let's take a few more questions. A gentleman there, and then I've seen a hand, yeah, the lady here. Yes, please, go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Human. I'm a PhD researcher on financial crime with focus on Russia, China, and Iran. Mm-hmm. There are indications that some European and post-Soviet states continue to provide financial channels enabling Russia to evade sanctions. Mm-hmm. How should Ukraine and its real partners respond to what many see as hypocrisy with the international coalition? And I want to say Slava Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you. The lady here. Yeah, in the second row, please. Yeah, I'm sorry. I cannot take all questions. It's good to see such a good interest. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Asia Bakum. I am a former BBC journalist and also with Global Diplomatic Forum. I have a question about specifically Trump